up, everybody on YouTube? I'm Owen H. Welcome to another episode of What's It Worth? And today I'm going to be reviewing the next...
What the fuck?!
This is awkward. What are you doing in my bed? I was here first. Besides, didn't I kill your monotone windbag ass? Like, well, you missed. Now get out. Oh, what are you going to do now, Virgin Santa? Oh. Last chance. When a 12-man team stationed in Antarctica witnessed startling events, their investigation into the matter leads them to unfold one mystery after another until they face the most terrifying discovery. An alien organism, frozen for 100,000 years, has been unleashed and can perfectly imitate anything and anyone it consumes. Soon after, the team turns on each other, surviving while trying to figure out who's who in this intense remake directed by John Carpenter. Whew. Sorry about that, folks. Had to deal with an annoying amoeba accordingly, which now he knows what karma feels like. Now, on to the actual review with the actual me. The first time that I saw John Carpenter's The Thing, I was I was like 9 or 10 years old. And I figured, I was like, oh, well, you know, it's got to be like the 50s version. So I watched this film. Oh my God, you talk about being proven wrong. This movie scared the shit out of me the first time I saw it, and it was on tape. Because with this film, it completely surprised me as to what The Thing really is and how much John Carpenter came up with something so unexpected and so terrifying on the simplest level. And what John Carpenter produced was it was like the stuff of nightmares, and it was so unexpected, and everything, the horror is like so unpredictable. It's like taking the game Clue and creating a much more terrifying sci-fi version of that concept, and it was like, oh my God. Because the whole time when I'm watching this movie, I'm like, where is the thing? And it ultimately turns out you're looking at it the whole time. You just don't know it until it reveals itself. And you're like, even John Carpenter went like, this is probably the best film that I've done so far. And you know what? He was right. This was like his second best movie ever since Halloween. I mean, it was like he really topped himself. And then it was like afterwards, it was like, you know, he just did some sci-fi films, but none of them were like gut-wrenching and horrifying as his take on The Thing. Now, I haven't read The Story Who Goes There from John W. Campbell Jr., so I'm not sure which version of The Thing is closer to the book, whether it's Carpenter's or the 50s version, which I did review before. So I can't wait to read it. I don't know if I have to find it in some special magazine or an omnibus. If you know where I can find this book, please put it down below, because I want to read that. I would say with The Thing, what John Carpenter produced was way better than a walking, blood-sucking plant. The Thing was basically a microscopic organism that could take over an entire organic body in like no time. And this creature becomes the perfect imitation of whoever it comes into contact with, or whatever it comes into contact with. Dogs, humans, hell, maybe even a polar bear if they expanded it far enough. And it was so perfect that it will fool anybody. That it's like you just can't tell. It's just, and that's what makes it terrifying. I mean, it's not just the visual shocks that makes this film the best, as much as it's also the fact that it's psychological horror, where it's like you can't trust anybody. Paranoia is like thick in this atmospheric, moody horror film. And on top of that, it's like it's about humans pitted against humans, and it's all about like how they're always tearing each other apart because they don't know who to trust anymore. And it was so intense and so scary and so unnerving. Now, unlike the 50s version, they decided to just put in an opening where the Norwegians are shooting at his dog, and then it's like a mystery, unlocking another mystery, unraveling another mystery, and another, and another, and another, until eventually it shows you why all of this is happening and why all that happened in the first place. And basically, they just took the elements of the 50s movie and just made a way better, more unraveling, ultimately a scarier movie. The best part about this film is the fact that the creature's motives is never explained. Like, why does it imitate humans? Why is it trying to flourish? Why is it doing this? Why is it on Earth? Why? And the thing is it's scarier when the mysteries are never answered. So it leaves it up to your imagination, and it's just so much scarier. Another thing that makes this film the best that it wouldn't have worked would be the actors. I don't know most of them. I've seen them in like other shows and some other movies like in the 80s that were made in the 80s. But I know the top ones, like Kurt Russell, right off the bat, he was awesome. He goes from being this kid actor to now being like this grumpy, sarcastic, alcohol-fueled helicopter pilot. He's just like, I don't give a fuck. And then when it comes to the Thing, he has to be this strong, authoritative figure who has to keep everyone in line while trying to figure out who is the Thing. And this is probably by far one of Kurt Russell's top best movies. I mean, he's done some other good movies, but this is by far like his best one he's done so far. And of course, Keith David, that we all know as Imam from the Riddick films, and he's appeared in so many movies. And he's also collaborated with Carpenter in They Live. And of course, Richard Dysart, which we all know him from a movie I can't wait to review, Prophecy the Monster movie, Pale Rider with Clint Eastwood. And he's always the one guy that dies in every single movie. And of course, the other actors, you would see them appear in other films, like Bennings was in Manhunter, which is actually the original Red Dragon of the 80s. In this film, it's like the actors, they did such a fantastic job being all these guys trapped in Antarctica with a life form that could assume the form of anyone in the station, and how they just go at it is so intense. And of course, we can't forget the one thing that totally makes this movie are the practical effects behind the creatures brought on by Rob Bottin, who's collaborated with Carpenter in The Fog and other films, and his makeup design is well known in RoboCop, Mimic, among other movies. With a collaboration of Stan Winston, who made the impossible possible in this movie. What makes these creatures absolutely terrifying in this version is the fact that they look like something out of somebody's worst nightmares and being brought to horrific life. And the fact the creature doesn't have a central form, but it constantly changes throughout the entire film, makes it much more terrifying, as you never know what it truly looks like in its full form. He was probably working alongside Rob Bottin to bring these creatures to life and come up with all these other crazy schemes of how to make these creatures work in more ways than one to really bring Carpenter's twisted imagination of these things to life. I mean, Stan Winston, he is the shit when it comes to creature effects. I mean, like I talked about him in Aliens, Blair, at the end of the film. Now, there was two versions of that part. They have one where it was all puppet effects. You do see a smidgen of stop motion animation, but there was an alternate version where Blair was supposed to be in full stop motion, and the dog thing that pops out of his torso was supposed to kind of leach out, almost like a separate being. But I guess Carpenter kind of looked at it and went, you know, let's just stick with the all puppet version. I mean, it's such a shame that the Blair thing doesn't do a lot more in the movie other than just knock Kurt Russell on his ass and just kind of hover over him. I mean, it was horrific to look at, but I kind of wanted to see him do a lot more damage, like him trying to go after McCready on his own. And it's like, you know, I wanted to see more of that. Well, maybe if they actually do a sequel to this movie, maybe Blair might come back. Maybe a fragment of him comes back and he gets more action. Ever since I saw this movie, I always love monster movies that are set in a very cold winter backdrop setting where help is so far away, almost unreachable. They're being bombarded with snowstorms, even whiteouts where they can't see anything in front of their face, and there's some creature coming after them everywhere they go. I mean, that kind of tone, especially with the lighting in the movie that brings out the creepy coldness of this film. I mean, hell, when I first saw that, I actually wanted to make a movie that was like The Thing, like what I described. And it's not just the creatures that are trying to kill them, it's also the cold temperatures and the environment and trying to survive like horrifying situations. Like, you know, I like to see more of that. And of course we get the Thing prequel, we get a video game. I mean, it's like, as much as I would love to see a follow-up of The Thing, I don't think there's any possible way that a sequel could top the Carpenter movie at all. So, where would I rank John Carpenter's The Thing? Absolutely full price. Hands down, it is Carpenter's best horror film. I mean, it's a horror film that hits you where you live. Okay, so I am done reviewing John Carpenter's The Thing. Awesome. And I'm going to be moving on to the 2011 prequel. So, please subscribe, please leave a comment. I'm ONH. Have a nice day, and now I'm going to go outside and check to see if the little assholes burned to a crisp.